What is that? Oh. The fastest way, I think, is to do this 6-minute one, because someone said, like, if you do a 6-minute thing, I believe. Let's do the Zelda maps. Let's get in Zelda mode. Queen off. Gagged. Mr. Saturn! Mr. Saturn is so silly. Love Mr. Saturn. Trans icon. What is everybody's favorite Zelda game up to this date? We are playing the hours, minutes before Tears of a Kingdom. What is everybody's favorite up to this point? Oh, this is a cute little drawing. Oh, she got so gagged. Majora. I liked it up until we got stuck. We tried playing that a while ago. Wind Waker is tied for my favorite with Skyward Sword, 100%. I feel like Breath of the Wild is its own, like, caliber. I really liked Ocarina of Time, though. I want them to do like an HD remake. That's mine. Chef Kawasaki! Chef Kawasaki is my favorite in the Kirby series. Love Chef Kawasaki. He's also canonically gay. In the anime back in the day on 4Kids TV, he has a boyfriend. Bye, girl. She's getting so gagged right now. I'll take this. Pikabuku! Take this! Get her! Get her! Oh my god. Have I died yet? I don't think I've died. And she's on level 8 computer. Oh god. Go over there. Oh, hey, Street Fighter. Hi, Marchie. Oh, she is getting clocked. Sonic Boom. You haven't played Breath of the Wild, Key? I'm shocked. Oh, wow. That was my first death, I think. That was my first death. Does this bridge not break like it used to in the old game? Like, where's the guy to break it? Kind of upset about that. No, I don't want to die. Midna, F off. I'm shocked. I feel like you would play. But like, now that Tears of the Kingdom is out, it's like... Oh, I have hazards turned off. Oh. That's interesting. No, I don't have them on Omega mode. I have the... I thought the stage hazards meant like bosses and stuff. Oh, okay. Oh, that's not. Oh, that's not. Oh, that's not. I countered that. Oh my god, Zelda tease. Another Zelda reference, Majora's Mask. Oh wow. Deoxys. Deoxys is such an underrated legendary Pokemon. Like, Queen. Get in there. She literally got gagged. I think I only died once. I'm like literally just drinking ice. Oh, I died 3 times? I don't remember dying 3 times. I feel like that's a lie. Oh my god, I'm so scared.
3, 2,
Shakes my ass to this music. Almost just died. Ignore that. Have you guys played Xenoblade? I've tried playing every single Xenoblade game to the date and I just can't get into it. The only character I care about from Xenoblade, her name is Dolly, and she's like an ice girl, and she has giant boobs. She has like huge fucking titties. Oh, he was gagged. Okay, another Zelda stage. Let's go in order. Oh, this is Zelda. Queen off.
3, 2, 1, go!
I want to do a Wii Fit Trainer look so bad. That would eat. She's kind of clocking me, I'm not gonna lie. I don't play Link a lot, so... It's for the bit. So I watched Evil Dead Rise last night, and by last night I mean at 7 in the morning before I go to bed. So like I literally watched it and then like rolled over in my bed and just went to bed after watching a demon like ruin an entire family. I was just like, all right, time for bed. It's really good. I really liked it. I was a little paranoid. I was like, what if I get possessed? It was. I really liked the main girl. What's her name? Her name's like something. The girl that plays the demon. She's like on social media, like calling herself Maggot Mommy, and like showing all of her stunts and stuff. I think her name's like Sue or something. But she's like really fierce. Honestly, if you have the time to watch it or go see it, I would go see it. It's on Amazon Prime for 20 bucks right now. But if you're gonna do, I would just go to the movie instead, like the movie theaters. But like if you don't want to be in the movie, like I didn't want to be in the movie theater. I want to like watch it in like the comfort of my own home, so I wasn't like freaked out. So I thought it was really good. I won't spoil anything, but I thought it was really good. I think one of the actors is also trans, which is iconic. Because I was like looking at clips on TikTok and like the incel annoying white men were trying to misgender them, and I was like, get a life, please. Like they're literally thriving, making an iconic movie that'll be remembered for years. And what are you doing? Being hateful on TikTok? You're a fucking loser. Like there are so many transphobes on TikTok, it's like actually insane. But also like, why are you on TikTok anyway? Like TikTok's a little fruity, so why are you on TikTok? Grow up. Go back to war. Fight in wars. Men used to fight in wars, not be into the TikTok comments. Stop being transphobic and act your age. Go sign up for the draft or something, you freaks. Yes, that's what I was talking about. So I was like reading their like biography and I was like, I don't think their IMDb page is very trans friendly, like at all. I was like, okay, this isn't nice. What is happening? It seemed like both of the kids in the movie were like queer coded, which I liked. That didn't excuse them being annoying as fuck. I was so annoyed by them. I was like, guys, you need to get it together. You are playing a role, but I did like that it was like, it seemed queer friendly. Hi, Palkia. Oh! Is that supposed to help me, Palkia? Can you put it back, honey? Thank you. Very annoying. And also like there's like talks of it online that like it's very like gory and like terrible and bloody. I didn't think it was that gory. Like I've seen more that were a lot more gory. But also like Evil Dead, the franchise, not even just this. She just saved me. Not even just this one. Evil Dead is supposed to be like campy. Like if you've seen the original movies, they're camp. They're not like supposed to be taken seriously. I love the references to all the other horror movies as well. There was like references to The Shining. There was references to the old Evil Dead movies. It was really cool. I liked it a lot. Fuck. Is that Rathalos? Hey, girl. That's really unlucky.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time! Link wins!
I love Evil Dead movies. I've been saying, like, anytime someone will come in, they'll be like, what's your favorite movie? And I'm like, Evil Dead 2013, which, like, I'm happy this one kept the pace. Like, it didn't embarrass me to be like, Evil Dead is my favorite franchise, which was nice. I was glad. Oh, I love the Great Bay.
Time battle.
Do we have any other Zelda characters? We have Young Link. We don't have Toon Link yet. What the heck? Also, somebody said the next character I was gonna get was gonna be Isabelle, and that was not the case. Oh wait, never mind. I lied.
Isabelle.
We already got her.
3, 2, 1, go!
Some kids love horror movies though, because they grow up to be like the horror movie fans like we are today. I definitely had an obsession when I was like 16 or 17. I wouldn't say like 13 or 14, but oh, not too much, Sonic. Yeah, me too. I did too. I used to be, when I was younger, I used to be afraid of horror movies. I mean, as I should have been, because, you know, horror movies are scary. But, like, I used to be, like, really afraid. Oh, I missed. Oh, I missed. She's such a troll character. I love her. Oh, hey. I just saved him by pushing him out of that. Fuck. I love it. Oh! Almost got me. He almost got me together. Do you like that, Sonic? He's getting so gagged. Virtua Fighter. He didn't fall asleep. Hacker. Sonic's a hacker. Hacker, hacker, hacker. Please report him. So gagged. Thank you. Gags. She's such a troll character. I remember when I was dating my ex-boyfriend, his cousin used to be like obsessed with Smash. And he was like, yeah, like my cousin will beat your ass in Smash, whatever, whatever. And I'd be like, all right, show him what's up. Like, well, let's fight, whatever. And his cousin would come over, and every time I would kick his ass as Isabel, and he would get so fucking mad he'd have to go outside and smoke a blunt and like calm down. He would get so fucking tilted. I was like, yeah, what's up? What's up? What's up? You're mad. And every time I would pick Isabel, he'd be like, you're not serious. You're not really gonna pick Isabel, are you? And I was like, yeah, I am. And what? I'm gonna kick your ass with Isabel. I miss Badge Arcade. Badge Arcade was fun. You sure did? Are you smoking a blunt right now, honey? The way I just clocked. The way I just got. Oh. Hey, Sonic. Oh, I missed. Oh, I missed. Fishing rod. Giggles. Hi, Diamond. I'm mad at how someone came into my chat. The first thing they said today was, it comes out tomorrow, girl. No, it comes out tonight. You think I don't know? You trying to disrespect the doll? You trying to say I'm wrong? Okay, I let you have that one, Sonic. I let you have that. People are already playing it. Let me play it! I want to play it! How are people already playing it? Australia? Oh, y'all are lucky. I didn't know Lucina is Crom's daughter from something in a time loop or something. I never knew that. Until the other day I saw it and I was like, oh! She's about to be so gagged. Oh. It giggles. We're gonna get no kills on this map. Oh, we're matching.
3, 2, 1, go!
I used to roleplay on this map on Melee when I was little. I'd like pretend part of it was my house. Whoa. What? The wall is so close. Yeah, she can. It's like really RNG though. Gagged! Oh, fuck you. I'm taking this. There's also a turnip. If you pull it out, it's like a 0.1 in 999 chance that it can do like an insta kill of damage. It's like really rare. Oh. Yeah, but I know a turnip does like, there's a turnip that does like a super amount of damage, or used to at least in the other games. Like it's not a bomb, it's like literally a turnip. Do you want to do your move or something? Like what? Like what? When I counter his ult? I thought I actually countered it. I missed when his ult was him doing the song and dance. His jungle beats. Okay, Beware, you can literally fuck off. Oh, he got the crocodile from Donkey Kong. That's cute. Okay, you can back it up. We need to do a Brain Age stream, because I have it. That'd be so funny. I actually love Sudokus. There was a puzzle in Fatal Frame, not Crimson Butterfly, the newest one they just ported to Steam, and I found it out because it was a Sudoku. What game is this? This is Smash Bros. Ultimate. Oh, I play them on flights like Boots. I like love to do Sudokus actually. The easy ones, not the hard ones. I'm like, nope. Not doing that. What? High safety. It's called Smash Bros. Ultimate, yeah. What? Okay. Sorry, you ruined the vibe, so...
Time! Sudden death, go!
Oh.
game.
Gagged.
He wins.
Yeah, someone told me that in the comments on the original one. Like when we played this a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh. Oh. Oh, I love this map. This is one of my favorite maps ever.
Final battle.
I'll do Falcon.
Captain Falcon.
I did, yeah. I just haven't played it since then. I try to like play all the fighting games on stream as much as I can.
Go.
Make it organic. Oh my god, my nose. I almost just sneezed. We are approaching the last hour before Tears of the Kingdom. Why is Min gagging me? Hello? Fuck, I got two arms characters on me. Oh! Oh my god. Is it gonna be out before midnight? I don't know. I guess people are already playing it. How are people already playing it? Fuck. I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't done more collaborations with Street Fighter, considering Ryu is in this game, so is Guile and Ken. Like in Street Fighter, there should be Nintendo references. Oh, she was so gagged. Show me your boobs. Keldeo, the most random Pokemon ever that nobody asked for. When they were just creating Pokemons for shits and giggles to sell them at GameStop, so people would just harass the GameStop employees. That time being when I was working at GameStop. I think Nintendo needs to do more collabs. Yeah, honestly. Yeah, literally, like, they should at least they should have done a fighter thing, like, cause in Sonic Adventure, if I'm not mistaken, Amy and Shadow are the same models as Sonic, just retextured and remodeled, so they could have done it in this. They would just have to modify the ult, I guess. Knuckles, I feel like, would be a little different, I guess. Knuckles and Tails. There should be more Sonic characters though in this. I just don't understand why they stopped. Like, they were like so adamant about stopping making these characters. They should have left it open-ended. Like, let Sakurai take his break, like forever how long he wants, and then pick it up in like 10 years or something. I don't know. Maybe they will, who knows? They could have. They only added like 7 or 8 Echo Fighters, which I thought was insane, and they didn't do any DLC Echo Fighters. No. I want that. Not this guy. Oh, is Knuckles is he an assist trophy? What if I just opened that and it was Knuckles? I never knew that. Same. Or Crash. Or Rayman. Remember that one Rayman leak that everybody thought was real and it was just some guy making a fake? That was so awful. He needs to go to hell. Wait, we don't even have Bayonetta unlocked yet.
Time! Captain Falcon wins!
That took so long to get Wario. What the hell?
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh my god, yeah. That was too good. Oh. What? I'm literally not gonna be able to unlock Mario. This is gonna be our first time we lose this. Is this fart saved, guys? I'm scared. We're good. Have you ever noticed that Commander Her games in Bayo? No, I haven't actually. Oh, I love this stage. There's actually a lot of Zelda stages. I'm shocked. I thought there were only like a couple.
Time battle!
Favorite stage? Actually, probably the one we just did, the Wind Waker map. I love Wind Waker so bad. Honestly, after... I mean, how long are we going to be streaming Tears of a Kingdom? Like, that game is apparently 60 hours long. Like, bitch! So, if we ever finish it on stream, kind of want to play Wind Waker again, because I miss Wind Waker. Why is that so loud? Hi, thank you for subscribing. That's why my audio messed up. God, I need an audio mixer. Have a good stream. Thank you. Oh, we're fighting Mario. What a loser. Mario, you're a loser. Fuck me in the ass. Oh, this is cute. I've never actually played Spirit Tracks. Oh. And when I do this... Can you please? Yeah, this is mine, if you would excuse me. Oh! Oh my god, it went off, so it gave me the life. But I... Wow, that's funny. I want the assist trophy. Back it up. Chris Brad. Oh. You guys ever watch Ed and Eddie? Oh, Pokemon battle. I imagine you are Ed and I'm Double D. Talos. That is fully your energy. I don't know anybody with... Eddie is just a bitch, so I would never call anybody Eddie. That's twice he hasn't been hit with my ult. Can you please? That's honestly so real. I hope my ex-Scorpio twink got spoiled on Tears of a Kingdom and is having a horrible day. Hi, Laser Jesus. Thank you. What is happening? Okay. I don't even know what that thing is. What is that? I like can't even see like what's on this stage. I don't like when it moves like that. Hey, why are you healing? Stop. I do a little dance. Okay, the Kyogre spawn was a little... Okay. What the H? Stop. This is my comeback. Watch, I'm gonna get the smash orb and it's not gonna hit him for the third time. Fight me. I made pancakes this morning. I made really good pancakes, actually. I kind of ate that. That was so far away from him and it hit him, opposed to the other times that was so close to him and it didn't hit him. Girl, I'm done with this stage. I'm out of here. I'm out. Fuck you, Mario. I'm out. Bro, I'm good. Oh my god, wait. So there's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7. There's a lot of Zelda maps. Skyloft. He was mad he didn't get any pancakes. He was mad he didn't get this cookie either. What the? Five is a little too much. We'll go back to 3. Let's play as Wario. Sexy Wario moment. I haven't played him since, like, Brawl. Bomberman! Ariana, what are you doing here? Yes. Well, I made, like, tiny ones, so I was like... I only had a couple, so... Hi, Curtis. Yeah, we're waiting. We're doing all the Zelda maps in Smash. Oh, he's opened his mouth wide open. See, Wario is a fat cock bottom. I knew it. I've been saying it for years. What the fuck? Yo, Monty and Smash! We won! Oh, we got Mew. How do I do the fart? Oh. That was just uncalled for, Yoshi. That was just uncalled for. That was just... Oh my god! Yoshi Stampede. Hey! I want this. How do you charge up his fart to max potential? Do I have to eat food? Oh god, it's Midna. Oh my god. You don't have to tell me twice. And Girahim. Oh my god, wait, we're on Zelda and we got Girahim. I just gave Yoshi the health potion like an idiot. We have gotten Guile so many times, like please. Oh my god, I didn't get it. What do you even do with this? Oh, that was his last life. Oh, he's really laughing. He thought that was so funny. A character I'm never gonna play. Girl, I can't.
3, 2, 1, go!
The way he was so requested for so many years, I was literally like, I am part of the minority that does not even give a shit about this character. He can stay a boss. I wanted more pretty girls. Oh, my arms. Are we allowed in yet? I need to change my Switch so it's at the accurate time. Hold on. We can't play yet. Let me in! Let me in! I would not like to get copywritten, please. Skyloft. Ooh, let's do Luigi's Mansion. Even though this isn't a Zelda map, but it's fine. It's Zelda adjacent. I don't even think I'm like prepared for Tears of a Kingdom. Like, I'm scared, you guys. Like, what's gonna happen? Like, I do too. I liked her Twilight Princess design. I think this is a cute design though. I don't mind it. I thought it was weird they changed it to this design and they didn't change it to the, like, Breath of the Wild design. Oh, hi. Same. Well, because aren't there two different Ikes? Yeah, there's two different Ikes. Yeah, they should do that with Zelda. They should have done it. but that was not the case. Oh yeah, there's 2 big outfits. Did he just smack the smash orb off me? You're sick. You can't outdo me. He's literally about to get so gagged. Oh, hey, Knuckles. Bye. Bye, bitch. Oh, Pokemon Trainer. I didn't know we didn't have him unlocked. I actually like playing Pokemon Trainer a lot.
3, 2, 1, go!
You know Ivysaur has the strongest down smash in the game. Same. She just uses her big boot. Like, you better, bitch. I think we've done all those other maps. Let's do Pokemon Trainer now, because now I really want to play Pokemon Trainer.
Pokemon Trainer.
Oh, Banjo.
3, 2, 1, go!
Girl, what the? I think Badge Arcade was the first gacha that I was addicted to. I'm dead serious to you. I was so addicted to putting money on Badge Arcade. Oh yes, Tiki. He's so gagged that I just got the fairy bottle. Oh, that's a big hole. I don't usually say that. I forgot I can change characters. Thanks, I want it. This is mine. Oh, yes, Lynn. Get him, girl. Gagged. What is that? Oh, hi, Kawasaki. Please stay away. Please stand 5 feet. Ow, he's throwing plates at me. Kirby's old smash. Miss it. Missing that. What are those things called from Banjo? They're called something silly. Oh wow. Well, that'll do it. Obama Snow. Oh, they're called Jinjos, aren't they? second. Who is that? Who is this? Is he single? Still have a little bit of time. Oh my god. Time is going by so slow, guys. I just want to play. I'm gonna go see if some drinks in my fridge are cold now because I turned up my refrigerator temperature. So hopefully I get something nice and cool. Also need to pull my panties out of my ass. Fucking giant ass wedgie. Jesus. Should be good, hopefully. Not all the gamers getting it done before release. If you're into vampires, oh yeah, I am. The way I just banned someone earlier for ruining the vibe, honestly, valid. It was the tone of the message. The way they were like, yeah, I'm serious. Oh, I know you're not talking to me like that. It feels like there's something in my eye, but like it doesn't. Might just be like a lash. Exactly. Like literally I have zero patience. I also felt like they were gonna be like, it felt like they were like trying to fight, and I was like, okay, well, it's Zelda night, like they could spoil it, so let's just like ban them just in case they do. Like maliciously.
Stop battle.
I might take a Claritin, honestly. Hold on. These are tiny ass pills. Pills here. Yeah, I want to play as Toon Link, but I don't have him unlocked. I wish there was just an unlock all button. Like, I understand, like, wanting to bring back the retro. Like, I really do. But, like, a bitch like me, I just picked up my PS4 controller thinking I was going to play with it. Also, why is this plugged in? Honestly, I should have left this plugged in because we might have to hop on a Star Rail. I should probably do my Star Rail dailies before, so I'm going to be sucked into Tears of a Kingdom. Don't look at the back of my head, please. Where is my charger? Okay. That's that. Charging my remote. Let's go to Star Rail. "40 minutes, 40 minutes." Screams and shits. It's crazy. Is everyone excited? So are you guys not playing, or are you just gonna like see if it's good on my end, like if you want to buy it, or what's the tea? What is everybody's place? It is a $70 game, which is a lot. Oh, I'm so sorry your Switch is broken. That sucks. What the fuck? No, yeah, it's 70. Unfortunately. Did it really? BO3 flopped in sales. That's what you get. How do you do it? Do coke? I don't know. Oh my god, I have another difficulty. I don't know much about Zelda, but I want to check this one out.
You won't get away.
Yeah, I would definitely say like just peep this one before spending the money, you know.
Can't run.
You won't get away.
Oh my god, I forgot Ganon's so sexy in this one.
And I'm no exception.
Eliminating threat.
Try that again. Watch this awesome move.
You won't get away. Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Look out! Help me, Mr. Sora!
Mission command.
Here!
So real, BKB.
You won't get away.
Eliminating threat.
Yeah, you can wait 4 years for it to drop to, instead of $70, you can wait until it's $67.99 in a couple years.
All right, take that, Clara.
Yeah, yeah.
Phew! Help me, Mr. Sora!
It honestly warmed my heart to see Matt Mercer though.
Humanity
Like-
never conceals its desire to control the heavens.
He
and
said he
I'm
like
no
grew up with
exception.
Zelda games, and now to be a voice actor for Zelda, like that is honestly like that's like the goal in life, right? Like you want to be a voice act, like that would be me doing total drama voice acting. That's like, I was honestly really happy for him. That's like really sweet.
You won't
That's
get
crazy.
away.
Imagine what that phone call is
Eliminating
like.
threat.
Like, hey, we want you to voice Ganondorf in the most anticipated sequel to a video game ever. And he had to just sit with that for years. Like, shit. I'm so bad at keeping secrets, like... let's do one more time. Thank you, Harley. We're just completing our dailies, hoping to get ready for Tears of the Kingdom in 13 minutes.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
This is your top 3 from the neutral drama. Julia, Bowie, Raj. Scary Girl 4th, but I love the gay characters a lot, and I love Julia.
You won't get away. Humanity never conceals
My
its desire to
300,
control
yeah.
the
I
heavens,
picked from
and
my
I'm no
300.
Hide.
Well, good morning, Maddie Cheaper Cheapington. Cheaper Cho. We like to party.
Annihilate.
Help me, Mr. Sora!
Mission command.
Maddie, you gotta stay up longer than 10 minutes today, because today is the new Zelda game, and it's gonna we're gonna party. We like to party. We sure do.
You won't get away.
Hide.
You won't get away.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
You won't get away.
Annihilate.
Good morning, Krusty.
Try that again.
Command. As you command.
I should low-key take a Claritin. Hold on. I'm gonna take a Claritin and I'm gonna get a rice bowl.
Let me see. Cheese. 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 Hmm. Let me see.
We like to party. We like to party.
Hmm. Let me see. Hmm. Let me see.
Hey. Me. What if I do that song tomorrow at my gig?
Cheese.
We like to party. We like to party. We like your mom.
Hmm.
Sorry, I took it somewhere it shouldn't have gone. Thinking about that one time, Maddie, you were just like so out of pocket. You were like, yeah, Nem probably eats that with parsley and pepper. It doesn't do anything. I was like, oh, what does that mean? How dare you? As I put parsley and pepper on my rice. I don't have any other spices. I was gonna go for a walk today, but then I slept all day instead. Oops. 30 freaking minutes. You're a cheese. I woke up in a new Bugatti. I'm in Australia. Let me play. I'm in Australia. Let me in! This is unfair. Why do people get to play before me? It's unfair. Absolutely preposterous. I'm literally staying up until like 7 a.m. to play this. I hope you all know. I'm literally staying up all night to play this. But I'm gonna sleep all day and then I'm gonna wake up at like 6 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, put a face on, go to the gig, come back home, stream it all night again.
Hey, Stinky!
You're stinky, you fucking... I really almost just said the F word. I really just wanted to say it. On the live. Please. Well, actually, Onyx said it on the pod. I think in the latest episode, or it might be in the next one I haven't posted yet. God, these sticky rice bowls are so good. I forgot that movie was coming out. And everybody was like, I cried at Guardians of the Galaxy. Who cares? Not I. Yep. I've seen it on the TL. The second one I liked, but that was before Chris Pratt was redacted amongst all of us. Is there no waiting room? Like, why can't we count down? Tears of the Kingdom, East Coast countdown. There's a countdown right here. Now we wait. I'm gonna eat this rice bowl in 20 minutes. You would never believe. I want to get like, okay. I want to get like Zelda ambience. Breath of the Wild background ambience. Should we wait? Should we watch? There's like there's something on the eShop that's like you can watch story recap. This video serves as a story recap of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. New and returning players relive this series of events leading up to Tears of a Kingdom. All right, let's see, girl.
Wake up, Link.
This is the story of our hero Link, who lost his memories and fought to save the world from the scourge of Calamity Ganon.
Oh.
It began 100 years ago in the Kingdom of Hyrule. The resurrection of Calamity Ganon was imminent. Zelda, the Princess of Hyrule. Link, the hero chosen by the legendary sword that seals the darkness. And 4 champions from each of Hyrule's regions all gathered together and began preparations to put an end to the calamity.
You're a champion.
I'll protect this land of ours to the death.
However, Zelda struggled to awaken her sacred powers to seal the evil. Despite her efforts, Calamity Ganon was resurrected.
Positive. It's awake. Ganon.
She was
Boasting
gagged.
almighty power, Calamity Ganon began his siege. In the end, the 4 champions and the King of Hyrule perished. Link was gravely wounded, and the Kingdom of Hyrule crumbled to ashes.
To asses.
To protect Link from certain death, Zelda finally awakened her powers and was able to seal Calamity Ganon temporarily.
Was that?
Afterward, Link was transferred to the Shrine of Resurrection and put into a deep
Hi,
slumber
Tilly.
to heal from his injuries.
We're just listening to a cute little recap of Breath of the Wild before the game at 12 o'clock. How was your stream?
100 years have passed since.
Wake up, Link.
Link awakened to the sound of
Hi,
someone's
Kat.
voice. Why was he here? What had transpired? He had no recollection of the past.
What did you
His
play?
memories were lost to time.
His chest, I know. Like, boobs. Does he have nips? I don't think so. That was literally me today. I slept so long today. Sorry, these fucking shorts are going
Standing
up my
before
ass.
Link was the kingdom of Hyrule, forever transformed.
The great calamity was merciless. It devastated everything in its path.
Y'all been playing that game a lot.
Link met with the ghost of the
I see
king
you.
of Hyrule, who had perished during
Oh, good night,
Calamity
honey.
Ganon's siege.
Thank you for the raid. I love you.
Link also learned that for the past century, Princess Zelda alone was containing the calamity.
Link, you are our final hope. The fate of Hyrule
Thank you, baby.
rests
Good
with
night.
you.
And so, with a mission to defeat the great evil, our hero began his journey across the vast kingdom of Hyrule.
Ahem. Hi, Heavenly.
Link faced many dangerous foes, undertook ancient challenges, and befriended new allies. And as he journeyed through Hyrule, he gradually regained his strength.
As you are now, I cannot say whether you are worthy or not.
Once again, Link wielded the legendary Master Sword and headed to the final battle against Calamity Ganon to restore peace in the
We did this
kingdom.
yesterday.
But courage need not be remembered, for it is never forgotten.
Strengthened by Zelda's voice, Link
Oh.
challenged the great evil.
Now, Link!
And after a long struggle, he gained the upper hand. Zelda
So
cast her
true.
sacred powers and finally succeeded in sealing Calamity Ganon for good.
15 minutes.
I always thought, no, I always believed that you would find a way to defeat Ganon. I never lost faith in you over these many years. Thank you, Link.
Link!
The hero of Hyrule. May I ask, do you really remember me?
After 100 years, Link and Zelda were reunited at last and began working together to restore Hyrule to its former glory.
But that doesn't last long. What a lovely video. What if he was like, no, literally, what if he was like, I don't remember you, bitch. Now we wait and say goodbye to Breath of the Wild. We say goodnight to this chapter for a long time because apparently the new game is like 60 hours and not even halfway done. Like, it's a fucking long one. Yeah. Thank you. Where should we go? Is the blood moon literally rising right now? Can we please relax? Let's go to the Great Plateau. I mean, we're gonna end up here literally anyways in a couple minutes because the game starts out in the same area, so it's not really like we're going anywhere. Yeah! Your mom goes, yeah! On my dick! Oh! Are we gonna have to get the Master Sword again in Tears of the Kingdom? Oh, Jesus. When the timer hits at 12 o'clock, I'll jump off and we'll start Tears of the Kingdom. For now, we wait and enjoy the ambiance one last time. Hi, Gay. Hi, Karu. Hi, Denny. One sub and I'll make him jump right now. Oh. Pranked! You got pranked! Pranked! Oh, that's 2 subs. Okay, we have to do it again. We have to go back up. We have to go back up. Go back up and do it again. Oh, y'all are hateful to our king. Y'all said make him jump the fuck off, bitch. Oh, House Music got a sub. How lovely. Wait, can we jump off from like the tippity top? Can you even get up there? Well, now I can't. Oh. The way he survived? Right. Link, we're trying to kill you, buddy. All right, back to 1. We're gonna reset. I feel like this would kill him. No comment. That video of Zelda going, Link! It gets me every time. It's so funny. Like when someone posts like, OnlyFans in bio, and someone replies, Link! Oh! The way I didn't mean to make him fall off, I was gonna make it a dramatic moment. Well. Wait, where's the tallest place we can jump off of? Hey guys. Can we do that? You can wear my sweatshirt. Sorry. I'm actually not sorry. Women that burp, hard eyes. Oh, the bird isn't flying anymore. Way out. When I land in front of one of the kids. Dead bodies. I thought he survived. I was like... Yeah, it's because he's cold. He's cold. How many more minutes we got? Oh my god, we have 6 minutes. I'm literally screaming. I'm gonna go change into pajama bottoms because these denim shorts are hurting my booty hole.